Hello, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. It is time to look at the astrology of May. We're going to be looking at the astrology of the first 2 weeks of May or thereabouts, from May 1st to May 11th. Before I get started, I want to welcome all my new subscribers and say hello to all my tried and true followers who have been with me for years. It is always a pleasure and an honor to be able to offer this information for you. Hopefully, you can find this helpful as we navigate yet another intense month. Now, the intensity of the month of May, it has a little bit different flavor as the most intense month um, of April. Of course, February is quite intense as well. It's just a very intense year. And of course, we're in an 8 vibration year, which is a year of manifestation, both instant manifestation and manifestation of seeds planted in the last, actually, the last 8 years since 2017, when we started this particular personal year cycle, or universal year cycle, I should say, in 2017, when we moved into a 10-1 Wheel of Fortune change. And we have been flying and changing ever since. So let us get started. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we can take a look. All righty. All right. So we are looking at the astrology from May 1st to the 11th. That's about the first, well, it's first 11 days, right? Okay, we'll start with the first, May 1st. Starting right at the beginning. On May 1st, we have Venus make a first quarter square to Pluto. This is part of the synodic cycle between Pluto and Venus. This is the first sort of official challenging aspect in a relationship between these two. This is a crisis in action square on the seeds planted at the Venus-Pluto conjunction that occurred at 1 degree of Aquarius on February 17th. Now, February, as I said, was a pretty intense month because we had all the personal planets, I think, save, well, maybe Mercury. Maybe Mercury was February, but certainly Mars and Venus conjoined Pluto, and I believe Mercury also did. If it didn't conjoin Pluto, it did it late January. The first conjunction, the conjunction of any synodic cycle sort of plants the seeds, and the conjunction occurred at the first degree of Aquarius. And the first degree of Aquarius is an old Adobe mission in California, which is about lasting values. So the first degree of Aquarius asks us to put our intentions forth for something that's going to have lasting value to us. And of course, Venus is the planet of value, so that makes it even more, I guess, apropos for that first degree. On that conjunction, we were in a 27-9 vibration, which is the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands in the tree on the Tree of Life is located in Cathar, right at the top here, and we can see we have Aquarius up there, Pluto in Aquarius, and at the time of the conjunction, Venus was in Aquarius. Now Venus is in Taurus. This is the Sephira, the Venus in Taurus, and we have this first quarter square. And we're going to look at this chart as we move forward. The vibration of that day is a 14.5. That is located here on the path between the Sephiroth of the Sun and the Sephiroth of the Moon. It crosses what we call the veil of Parakath, which is the separation between the higher and lower self. And what we will see is that the vibration of the month, May of 2024, vibrates to a 13.4. that is crossing the veil of Pereketh. The vibration of the first, when we have this square between Venus and Pluto, we also are we're going across the veil. And then we also go across the veil on May 2nd, where we have Pluto station retrograde, as well as Mars making a waxing sextile to Pluto. Mars and Pluto made their initial conjunction back in February as well. And that was right around the time that Navalny was died. I guess we'll say died, or was taken out, as it were. So we definitely saw a shift in the power, which we always see when Pluto and Mars come together. All right, let's go to this Pluto stationing retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius on the 3rd. The vibration of that day is the 15-5. That's the devil card. The devil card is associated with Capricorn. Now Pluto moved into Aquarius on the 20th of May. Excuse me, on the 20th of January, right after it had conjoined the sun in the last degree, last minute, last possible second of Capricorn, and then moved into Aquarius, the sun, and then Pluto moved into Aquarius, right? And so it's been moving forward through Aquarius, and we have seen quite a bit of forward motion, especially on the more sort of Aquarian humanitarian ideals. Now that Pluto is stationing and going to start to move backwards, it does lose some of its oomph, as it were, and it's going to go over the degrees that it went over, until it goes back into Capricorn. It's going to go back into Capricorn September 1st. Is there until October 11th, turns around at that last degree of Capricorn on the 11th, and then moves out on the 20th of November back into Aquarius, where it will stay for about the next 20 years and not see hide nor hair of Capricorn for about another 240 years. So, or longer, or well, for a long time before we see Pluto in Capricorn again. And so it will definitely be the period at the end of that sentence. But we're in sort of the last bit of this Pluto going back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius, which has been going on since May of 2023. And so there is this sense, I think, that we sort of move forward and things start to progress, and then they only get so far, and then we seem to go back over things that we thought we had gone back over. So it's this sort of back and forth, and these times when we have Pluto moving back and forth, or these slow moving planets changing signs, it takes a couple of years for them to really sort of be in the sign that they're in, where they can really do their work. But there's a lot of shifting and a lot of sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And sometimes it feels like 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Eventually, though, we do progress because Pluto is the planet associated with our evolution. And we evolve. We all evolve. We evolve as humans. The world evolves, the planet evolves, the universe evolves. We're all sort of reaching back to move towards spirit, as it were. So let's take a look at that Pluto retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius. The Sabian symbol for 3 degrees of Aquarius is a deserter from the Navy. Refusal to accept the unacceptable. Certain of society's constraints and requirements are simply inappropriate for us, and we cannot and must not comply. Refusing to comply with inappropriate authority. And I think we're all sort of seeing that as we look at the situations in the world where we're questioning those people who are in charge. Why are they doing this? What's the point? Blah, 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 right? And sort of refusing to accept it at that 3rd degree of Aquarius. On the 3rd of May, I was wrong. I didn't realize the 3rd of May, we have Mars make the waxing sextile to Pluto. This energy, this is actually a 16-7 vibration, which means the third is a tower moment. So we might see a tower moment on that day. But the tower in the tarot is associated with the planet Mars. So this is especially potent that we have this sextile on a Mars, so to speak, a Mars day. Mars sextile Pluto gives tremendous energy, willpower, and courage with an intense drive and determination to focus on a particular task. So it gives everybody that energy. And so if you are focusing on tasks that bring goodness into your life and good into the world, then put your nose to the grindstone on this day, because those who don't are also going to have the opportunity to really focus on what they want. And I think that uh, there's many more of us who want to bring the good into the world than there are those who want to disrupt. So, and how do you do that? You live your life to the best of your ability, shining the most amount of light that you can. This week we do have a last quarter moon with the moon in Aquarius and the sun in Taurus. This is part of the lunation cycle that began with the new moon in Aquarius. No, the new moon in Aries. Yes, yes. That was the eclipse. So we're still really in the eclipse season, although this eclipse season, the points where we had the eclipse, 20 degrees of Aries is going to stay pretty hot and pretty activated for at least a year, if not longer. So that the reverberations of the eclipse will be felt way past the time that the eclipse actually happened. But this particular lunation cycle, where we started with the eclipse, is still going on and isn't going to be done until we have the new moon in Taurus, which is coming up just in a few days after this. So, all right, let's take a look. I think I have the charts next here. Yeah, okay, so here we have Venus and Venus and Pluto. This here on the left is the chart of when they conjoined. This is a chart for Washington, D.C., so this is how it affects the United States. Apologies for those people who don't live in the United States. But the first quarter square here we can see in this chart at 206 is a first quarter crisis in action. So we want to take action on building the foundations for the values that um, the lasting values that we're being asked to create or to build from with that first degree of Aquarius. Pluto, a refusal at 3 degrees, a refusal to accept the unacceptable. We saw that this is the same degree where it changes direction. Now that's something I want to mention. We have this, and then the next day it changes direction when a planet is stationary, as Pluto is barely moving. It builds up energy. So there's a lot of power in this square because there's a lot of power in Pluto, and there's a lot of power in Venus as well. Venus has really gone through her paces, and she's quite empowered, I think, this year, as we can see with the rising of the feminine energies. Venus is at 3 degrees of Taurus, a determined effort to find a new way. So we have refusal to accept the unacceptable, squaring, creating foundations for our determined effort to find a new way. A new way. Venus. Okay. The divine feminine, guys. The divine feminine. All right. Let's continue. And here we have the station of Pluto, the station occurring on the 2nd, the devil card, Pluto station's retrograde. Pluto is retrograde until October 11th, that should be 2024, which is a 19-1 vibration. That's the sun card, by the way. And then on November 20th, it moves out of of Capricorn for at least our lifetimes, and moves back into Aquarius. And that is Joe Biden's birthday, actually 82nd birthday, I think, right? 82. 82. He's born in 46, I think. Anyway, whatever birthday it is, it's his birthday. So, and we can see here Pluto here, it's stationary in the 6th house of service, of health care, of the military. Okay, stationing retrograde. So the power of Pluto is now backing off a bit. This Pluto is both square Venus, right? Square Venus and sextile Mars here, and also sextile Neptune. We just had a Mars-Neptune conjunction at the end of April, starting a new synodic cycle with them that occurred at the 29th degree of Pisces. Not quite the last degree, but almost the last degree of Pisces. So, all right, let's take a look here. Here we have Pluto and Mars making that sextile. This is the first aspect, Ptolemaic aspect of these two planets since their conjunction in February. This gives tremendous energy, willpower, and courage with an intense drive and determination to focus on a particular task and succeed in your goals. Pluto in the 10th house here, stationary, making a sextile to Mars in the 12th house. We may not, this is America, right? We may not see what is actually going on because there's a lot of things going on behind the scene. But there is tremendous energy and willpower for this. This is a tower day, which is connected to Mars, Okay. Now, on the 6th of May, we have a semisquare between Saturn and Pluto. And I don't talk about semisquares very often, but a semisquare is a 45-degree angle. And it's part of the cycle of the evolutionary cycle that two planets go through when they're in relationship to each other. There are themes as it moves along. And this is the first, this is where the energy of the initial conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, which let me remind you, that happened on the 12th of January of 2020. It was considered the conjunction of COVID, okay? It is now making a semi-square to each other. So half a square, 45 degrees. As with squares, semi-squares are stressful. The energy of the semi-square is after the explosion or the powerful energy of the blending of the conjunction, the energy moves out. Now it starts to turn around and move back in. And in that energy of moving back in, we're actually creating a blueprint for whatever was seated at that Pluto-Saturn conjunction. And Pluto and Saturn always deals with a shift and change of power, right? There's a big power shift with this energy. And of course, the last time that this happened before 2020 was 1982. And so this is a whole new sort of, a whole new power dynamic that's happening with these two planets. So let's see what it says here. This is the point in the synodic cycle between Pluto and Saturn where we enter the crescent phase, the phase in which we struggle to overcome inertia and the ghosts of the path. The new evolutionary purpose, first seen in that initial conjunction in 2020, intensifies as we struggle to establish and make real the purpose. This is actually the first of 3 exact semi-squares that are happening in 2024. And we can see it here. We have Pluto in the 9th house, and we have Saturn in the 10th. This actually could have to do with the court in the United States anyway, the courts and the power of the president. So we will see that, of course, I don't think it's going to be Biden. I think it's going to be more about the Trump, maybe the immunity stuff. We'll hear about it at this time. Saturn semi-square Pluto, striving to resolve a dilemma between duty and single-mindedness, between doing one's duty as defined by others and the ruthless pursuit of one's own goals. This sounds like January 6th, doesn't it? It could also sound like Netanyahu. It could also sound like Putin, okay? Striving towards a disciplined single-mindedness. So we may hear about all those things that I mentioned. Very, very possible that that's the case. All right. Let's continue on. All right, May 7th, we have the sun making a sextile to Saturn. This is part of the Sun-Saturn synod that happens every year. The sun is illumination and Saturn is the structures needed. This occurred in the sign of Pisces, the initial conjunction, and now we're at the sextile with, of course, Saturn still in Pisces here. And you can see I put the little sextile right there. This is the path that's getting activated between Saturn and the sun. This is the path of Gemini. This is the path of the lovers, the disposing intelligence. So we can imagine some Geminis maybe we may see the light around some Geminis here. Okay. The sun waxing sextile Saturn helps you express your identity through leadership roles, often taking on great responsibilities and receiving much recognition. This is a really good aspect to get your work done, This is about opening the lines of communications on the seeds planted at the Sun-Saturn conjunction on the 28th of February at 10 degrees of Pisces. And also on the 7th, we have the new moon. So now we're out of the synodic, we're out of the lunation cycle of the eclipse, and now we're in a new lunation cycle. And this occurs at 19 degrees of Taurus. 19 degrees of Taurus is an interesting aspect because we just, back in 2022, this aspect, this degree was very much activated in 2022. And I believe there was a major aspect occurring at this degree during the January 6th trial. So I don't know, May looks like, and I'm not paying attention to any really of the political stuff necessarily, when things are going to happen and all of this stuff, because it's just too crazy and confusing. And there's like 12 things and it's hard to keep track. And I'm still trying to figure out what day it is, right? So I'm not paying attention that closely. What I want to say about that is that the energy is there for holding people responsible. The energy is there. The energy is here, and it's here, and if it doesn't happen on the day, chances are it's gonna happen anyway. So people will be held accountable and will be held responsible for what they've done and what they haven't done. Remember, we're in an 8 vibrational year. So let's look at this new moon, a new continent rising out of the ocean, pure receptivity. When the mind is open, then the spirit can enter. Pure receptivity that sponsors spiritual breakthrough. So here we have another spiritual breakthrough. How many can you have? I don't know, one a day. Venus as the ruler of Taurus. I always like to look what Venus is, what the ruler of the sign that's getting the new moon is doing. And we have her in Taurus. She's happily in Taurus. She moved into Taurus at the end of April. A woman watering her flowers in her garden, refinement of the ego, concentration of the mind on developing a mature sense of self, constructing a beautiful personality. And the vibration for this day is the judgment, the final judgment, inevitability. Okay. All right. And here is the new moon. This is for the US. Thank you very much. For those who are not from the US. So we have this particular conjunction in the fifth house. The fifth house is the house of creativity. It's the house of children. Um, it's the house of the stock market. So it'll be interesting to see what I think the fifth house and the eighth house are both connected to the stock market. And the eighth house is in Leo in this chart. So that's very much, that's very possible. We have the ascendant at the last degree of Sagittarius. Here's Pluto in the first house. We have the sun moon making a conjunction at 19. It is sextile Saturn. And here's the Venus here. In fact, Venus, if you widen out the conjunction to 10 degrees, Venus is within a conjunction of this new moon, bringing even more power to that Venus. So let's look what the Sabian symbol says here, because there's a little bit more about it. It says a newly formed continent rises out of the ocean. Pure receptivity. When the mind is open, the spirit can enter. Pure receptivity sponsors spiritual breakthrough. Then the author, this is James Burgess, Sabian Symbols. That's where I got this from, if you're wondering, jamesburgess.com. Pure receptivity, I said that. A mind that is free of the constriction of staunch belief and moralistic attitudes is free to be spontaneous. Then it is responsive to unconscious upwellings of inspiration, creating new thoughts out of which new realities can emerge and rise up. This is about the new earth, guys, and our new relationship, Venus, with Mother Earth. And while those in charge still struggle with this idea, those of us who live on planet Earth don't have to struggle with it. If you expect it to come from top down, it's not going to. As with all great things, it comes from the grassroots, and there's nothing more grassroots than the grass and the roots. And we have Venus here at 11, Taurus, a woman watering flowers in her garden. What seeds have you planted? What seeds are you nurturing? That's the question. What world do you want to see? If you want to see a world of peace, you need to foster that in your own life. If you want to see a world of abundance where everybody's needs is met and we don't have to kill each other in order to live, like, what is that? Live simply so others can simply live. That's really a mantra for this, especially as Pluto moves through Aquarius. So this is a very exciting time to be alive, and a lot of potential for really making a difference in the world. A big, big difference. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. It continues to be pretty exciting as we continue in May, but little by little, right? We'll just take it in a little bit and digest it until the next time. So until the next time, which will probably be in about a week, have yourself a wonderful week. Check me out in the mornings when I walk through the garden. May is the most beautiful time of the year in the garden, I think. And so come with me every morning. I talk about the astrology of the day and what's growing in the garden and anything else that floats into my head, or any animal that runs past me. We look for the signs and the symbols, and we move through our days with as much grace as we can. Until next time, have a great week, as I said. If you would like to have a reading with me, I do have availability. They are combination astrology, numerology, and Kabbalah readings. And although I am busier than I've ever been, I still have time and space for you. The links are below for that. If you'd like to support my channel, give me a thumbs up. Share this video if you find it helpful and you want to send it to somebody else who might be interested in this. And I also have a Patreon page if you want to support me that way. Dr. Vicky at the Seeds. There is a link below for that, or you could just, if you'd like to donate to the channel, that you're always free to do that as well. All right, guys, take care. Much love. Namaste. I love May.